Welcome back to another episode of the Even Year Dynasty Show. It is Tuesday night. We have action. San Francisco Giants have signed center fielder Jung Hoo Lee out of Korea, who played in the KBO for the last 6 years, it appears. On this episode, we're going to talk about a little bit about him, where he fits, what the contract looks like, where it leaves their payroll, and then kind of what their projections look like. I'm going to use the Fangraphs projections in this case. So a little bit about the deal to start with. It's a 6-year contract for $113 million. Comes out to an $18.8 million average annual value. He does have an opt-out after 4 years. So, if he ends up playing really well, he's going to opt out when he's 29 years old. Because this is the positive with him. He is a 25-year-old, which is pretty uncommon for free agents. So when the Giants have talked about wanting to kind of build new centerpiece, have new cornerstone pieces to build the team around in this offseason, they view it as a good time to do that, where they can go pick up multiple guys that are in their primes that can be cornerstone pieces and help both now and in the future. So I think this is going to be a great fit for them. A little bit about the player. He played 6 years in Korea. It was a 340 hitter, had a career 898 OPS. The most impressive stat, he does not strike out. Played 884 games there, had 3,947 plate appearances, and he struck out 304 times, which is a minuscule number. He also walked 383 times, so he walks more than he strikeouts. Now, that is probably not likely to, maintain that kind of percentages in the major leagues. They do compare the Korean pitching to that of like AA pitching. The average fastball in Korea is 88 miles an hour versus 94 in the major leagues. So there's going to be an adjustment period for him. You're looking at a guy that is probably going to face tougher pitching than he's ever faced at any point in his career. But this is a risk I think that's worth taking. His bat control is viewed as kind of otherworldly, and you got to hope that it translates. Some kind of interesting facts about him: has the nickname Grandson of the Wind, which is kind of a fun nickname. He wears number 51. He idolized Ichiro growing up. You watch him swing, it actually looks a lot like him. If he could produce 75% of what Ichiro did, that would be an amazing career. So it's kind of interesting. Won the MVP in the Korean League in 2022 when he hit 23 home runs, 349, almost 1,000 OPS there. So his game's really predicated on speed, defense, and contact skills. With his speed, though, it hasn't really translated to a ton of stolen bases in Korea. He stole double-digit bases for, I believe, 4 or 5 times there, but the last couple of years, he only stole 7 bags one year and 6 the next, which he did suffer an ankle injury and missed most of this last season, so he was on pace for double-digit stolen bases. But he lives kind of in the 10 to 13 range over there. That said, in the, with the different rules in the U.S., and maybe it's something they try and take advantage of more, maybe he can develop into like a 20 stolen base guy. I don't think he's ever going to be like a crazy burner where he steals 40 bags or anything, but maybe he'll develop into like a 20 stolen base guy. And his athleticism, he's going to be able to take extra bags on the base paths. So that's something else that the Giants have done very poorly. They were actually the worst team in the league at taking extra bases. So that's something that I think he could help with, even if he's not a massive stolen base threat. So he is going to help them with getting more athletic. He won a bunch of gold gloves in center field in the Korean League, so his defense has been very good there. And so we'll see if it translates. Hopefully it does, but if he does end up turning into a very good defensive center fielder, that's going to produce a lot of value, because, you're talking about a team that had the worst outfield defense in the entire major leagues last year. They were dead last in outs above average. and they were among the leaders in errors. So, I mean, pretty much by every metric, the Giants were terrible defensively last season. So, this is hopefully a guy that's going to greatly help that. So that's where it's a really good fit. Now, this is going to be a massive risk, and it's not cheap. It's a $113 million contract, and that doesn't even factor in that there's a posting fee because he's coming from Korea, which, doing the math on that, it's going to come out to roughly, it's based on the value of the contract, and it's like 20% for the first 25 million, 17 and a half for the next 25, and then 15% for the rest of the deal. Doing the math on that, it comes out to about $18.82 million. So they're going to have to pay that on top of his contract. That goes to the team that they are essentially purchasing him from in Korea. So, this is a significant investment by the Giants. So it's maybe not the biggest star name that everyone hopes for, but I think it's an excellent first piece for them to get. Yamamoto's still out there. We'll see how that shakes out. I personally am of the belief that I don't really care if both New York teams are all in, and the Dodgers are now going to go crazy after him because of Shohei Ohtani deferring $680 million of his contract. With Yamamoto, it's going to be, they've used the term "won't be outbid" at various times. Well, it's time to prove that, and I'm at the point of I don't care what the number gets to, be the biggest bid and get that guy. Because especially with the Dodgers situation, you need pitching. So, but getting back to Jung Hoo Lee, some of where it puts the Giants' payroll, it gets them to about 181.7 million towards their luxury tax payroll. The competitive balance tax is at 237 million. So that is 55.3 million still underneath the competitive balance tax. Now, I don't know if they're without Ohtani. I don't know if the Giants are willing to go over that. And, they can comfortably sign Yamamoto and be well under that. Anyone beyond that, you're probably looking at, depending on the deal, if you get Yamamoto for $30 million a year, let's say if he signed like a 10-year, $300 million contract, which is honestly looking like it might be more. So even if he signs for $35 million, you still have $20 million to navigate underneath the luxury tax. Now, with that, they do have plenty of players they can move to try and create some more financial space. So whether they want to try and acquire someone via trade, or if they do pursue Chapman or Bellinger or any of those guys, they could still afford that, or Reese Hoskins. There are plenty of ways they can manipulate their finances a little bit. Especially when you have guys like Conforto making 18 million. Now, I don't think he's movable unless you eat maybe 5 million of that deal, but you can move him. You can move JD Davis, who's going to make $7.5 million. You can trade Slater, who's making 4, or Yaz, who makes 8. There's easy ways you can move if they want to get under, or they can just blow over the competitive balance tax for one season, like Greg Johnson has said he's willing to in the past, and then reset yourself back underneath it later. So we'll see kind of how this plays out, but this was a good start. So where he's projected for 2024, and I don't think these numbers are. I think it's probably going to be a little lower numbers than this in some respects, and maybe higher in others. Fangraphs projects him to hit 291 with a 353 on base percentage and a 787 OPS. They're projecting 11 home runs, 7 stolen bases, a 114 WRC plus, meaning 14% better than league average, and then for him to be worth 2.8 wins above replacement. If he produces that season, that is an excellent rookie season for him. Especially because if he produces those offensive numbers and he's as good as defensively as the Giants think he is, that number is going to be closer to a 4-win above replacements even season, which is excellent. And those numbers would be an awesome leadoff hitter, quite frankly, especially with his bat control. Now, with the adjustment period, I think it's unfair to expect that out of him as a rookie. I'm personally hoping that he can hit maybe 270 and be pretty close to league average with the bat. His power numbers are probably going to be lower. He only hit double-digit home runs 2 times in Korea, and that's way more hitter-friendly than Oracle Park is. So, he might only hit 5 to 7 home runs. I do think he'll steal more than 7 bags, especially with the rules in Major League Baseball nowadays with disengagements and bigger bases and all that. I could see that number being more closer to 15 or 20. But the defense, I think, is going to drive his value. Defensive base running is going to drive his value for the first year. And a comparison for him is Ha-Seong Kim over in San Diego, who in his very first season, he's played 3 years in the majors now. His first season, he was worth a half of a win above replacement. So he struggled. And with the adjustment, I think that's fair to expect struggles. And hopefully Giants fans can actually practice patience on this one for once, because I think he's going to probably struggle early, but he could develop pretty quickly after that. And with Ha-Seong Kim, he was worth a half a win above replacement. His second year in 2022, he was worth 3.7 wins above replacement. Last year, he was worth 4.1 wins above replacement. If we're getting that production out of Lee, that's a 25 to $28 million a year player. So this deal, if he can produce those kinds of numbers, this deal is going to be really a steal at the end if he's having those kinds of seasons. But in his rookie year, I think it's fair to anticipate struggles. Now, I brought up Ha-Seong Kim. One of the interesting things with him is these two are actually very close friends. They were working out in the off season. Obviously played together on Team Korea at the World Baseball Classic, where actually Jung Hoo Lee had a lot of success, including a hit off of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So clearly he is at least capable of hitting some of the best pitchers in the world. But I actually was kind of thinking about it, and Lee was linked to San Diego a lot because of his friendship with Kim. Kind of curious because Kim is actually going to be a free agent after this season. He's an excellent defensive player at shortstop, second base, third base. He's excellent at all 3 positions. Good, solid bat, but his main value is base running, defense, and he stole 38 bags last year. So, just kind of thought, something to keep in the back of your head. I could see him being a potential target for the Giants next season, and them trying to sign him, and he might be interested in coming up here and playing with his friend. So that's just kind of food for thought on someone who they may try and get in the future. I know Luciano is scheduled or slotted to play shortstop this year. I could see them trying to move him off of shortstop next year potentially. So that's where I could see the fit. Or because Kim can play third base, they could move him around. So just food for thought. But excellent first pickup. And we'll probably bring back, we'll do another show here in the next day or two. I'll talk more about the Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers. I know I've been marinating on it for a couple of days now. Now that it's official, and I'll talk more about my thoughts on that and kind of how the Giants should be approaching the rest of this offseason and beyond, even, and going into the future on how they should be looking at their roster construction with the Dodgers' new. Yeah, I mean, they were already a powerhouse, but now they look like a team that might win 120 games in the regular season. So we will come back soon for that. But other than that, I hope everyone has a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate all the support. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at EYD Show. Drop questions there. Drop questions in the comments. Love getting them. I'm happy to answer them on the show. And I try and interact and respond to pretty much everybody when I get those. So feel free to drop your feedback and everything there, but we will catch you next time. Thanks.